You know, God in His wisdom, it's pretty cool because this chapel's been planned for quite a while. And last week, the Senate says, hey, we need to show a chapel video. And it's kind of long, and hope that's okay. I'm like, all right, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And so I look at the title of the video this morning when I put it in here. It's called The Man. And we're going to talk about men today. Valentine's Day is the 14th. All right, and Valentine's Day is one of those holidays, is it a holiday that some people really like, some people really don't like. So we're not going to have a relationships focus, we're going to have a character focus. So we're going to spend today talking about men. Ladies, we'll talk about you specifically in a few weeks, all right? So I want to get you going on this verse. Paul is finishing up 1 Corinthians, and he ends with these two verses. It says, to be watchful, to stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, let all you do be done in love. So we're going to try and unpack that a little bit today. That's where we're going to start and finish our time today. We have three goals for the chapel. The first one is to just try and inform. All right, we're going to take a look at what not to do here in a moment. We're going to say, what do we do? How do we act like men? And in the second part, to encourage, because we need a lot of encouragement. Masculinity and femininity are taking a hit. So we want to encourage you, and ultimately we want to try and inspire you. And so this idea of guys, we're going to focus on you today, but ladies, don't take a nap, because you're really important in this in terms of what you encourage in male behavior and character. And then we'll do the very same thing on March 4th when we talk about what it means to be female. And guys, you need to be encouraging that as you go. So in the sense of what not to do, enjoy this for a few minutes.
A few weeks ago, we talked about 10 things that you should never say to a girl. Because we all know that guys need all the help that they can get. But you know, girls say some pretty dumb stuff to guys too sometimes. So in the interest of fairness, here's 10 things that you should never say to a guy. It's nothing, I'm fine. No, tell me what's wrong. I want to understand. And I can tell that you might not want to talk about it right now, but can't you see that I'm at least trying to make an effort here? Give me something! Does this make me look fat? Lose-lose situation. The fact that you're asking means you probably think it does. So either we confirm how you feel, or you think we're lying. When in actuality, you probably actually look really good. Here, just let me do it. Nothing defeats a man's spirit more than hearing, here. Let me do that. You think that you're just trying to get a task done as efficiently and fast as possible, but what I hear is this.
Clearly you're unable to do a job as simple as the dishes. I'll deal with this. You can walk away and just think about how incapable you are.
You are so sweet. How do you not have a girlfriend? Because you won't date me. You're gonna make some girl really happy someday. Let me demonstrate what this statement feels like to a guy when he hears it. Kelly here is going to act as a metaphor for this statement entering into a man's eardrums. Okay, watch carefully. Does this outfit show too much skin? Girls, this one is awkward for us guys because it makes us have to admit that we notice stuff like that. There is no right answer. Just don't put us in that position. You're like a brother to me. The feeling is not reciprocated, because if we were related, my feelings for you would be illegal in 49 states. I looked it up. So what are you thinking? This can be very dangerous.
Hey, what you thinking about?
Well, you see, I just saw the commercial for the museum that was on TV, and then that made me think about the planetarium, and then that made me think about Star Wars, and then that made me think about if there's gonna be real wars in space, like for real one day, and then that made me think about the current conflicts in the Middle East, and then that made me wonder if those are even justified.
That commercial was like 2 seconds ago.
I know.
You don't have to do that for me. Do you think that I'm incapable of opening the door myself? Obs, you are capable of opening a door for yourself. I'm just trying to be a nice guy. My ex used to do that too. No one likes hearing about how they compare to your former flame.
Ugh, are you going skateboarding again? My ex used to do that all the time. You know, maybe you should cut your hair. My ex had long hair and I hate him. I think you wear the same deodorant as my ex. That's confusing.
This is over! The end. So there you go. Now everyone knows what not to say to everybody else. I just fixed communication between the genders. To recap, guys, don't be an idiot, and girls, give us a break. You're welcome.
So in the spirit of what not to do. I think, well, what should we do? So I came upon an article out of Relevant magazine, and it was titled, "What Women Want in a Godly Man." So it had several qualities listed, and this is how the article starts, and then the rest of chapel really will be based around unpacking some of these qualities, and I'll tell you how we'll do that here in a moment. But this is how it started. It said, I saw an ad this weekend that read, "Men, let's be real men." The ad had proceeded to promote a new testosterone pill. If consumed, this pill promised to boost manliness, increased sex drive, muscles, and masculinity. The most frightening thing about this ad is that it speaks some truth in the sense that our society has managed to reduce manhood to sex drive and muscles. I don't know about you, but that is so ridiculously far from my definition of masculinity. The truth is, women are looking for so much more in a man than strong muscles and libido. Far more than cars, athletic ability, and all the other meaningless things our society uses to define manhood, there are some things that actually define the measure of a man. So men, go ahead and ditch the weights, the hot rods, and the testosterone pills, because if you're really trying to catch a fine woman, here's what she's looking for. Women are looking for so much more in a man than strong muscles and libido. So we're going to focus on 3 characteristics of true masculinity. And so we're going to do that with some special guests. So I would like you to welcome your host for the rest of chapel, Mr. Ryan Miller, who will take you from there.
Hey guys. Okay, so let's give a warm welcome to our guests. We got Mr. Park. Come up here. And Mr. Wishart. Okay, so we're gonna start out by we'll go to the next slide, and I'm gonna read another part of that article. So, men, it's time to stop pretending and start being real. Real with your strengths, your weaknesses, your struggles. Real with your hopes, your dreams, and your fears. Real with who you actually are, not who you want to be. A man who has nothing to hide becomes the safe place in which a woman can hide her heart. Now that's straight up manly. So first we'll get your guys' your thoughts on this excerpt.
I wasn't paying attention.
So we can just...
Is your microphone on, by the way?
I don't know.
Is it green?
I went ahead and turned this on.
There you go.
I want to start this by saying that it's weird to me that they said that being a man is not about muscles, and yet they picked Park and me. Right? What was the question?
So just your first thoughts on this, and then I have a couple other questions to ask you.
Well, I do have some thoughts on this, and I also want to point out that I read the article that you've been quoting up here, and it took me basically to the end of the article to realize that it was written by a woman. So if you didn't realize that, it might help you to realize it was written by a woman directed toward men to say what women want. That was helpful for me when I figured it out. I also want to say this. It's time to stop pretending and start being real. My wife would agree with that. But what does she know? She's just a woman.
You got a point there.
Yeah. Do you see how we did a stereotype there? Do you see how we played that? I don't actually feel that way, by the way.
Neither do I.
And don't tell my wife, because she would hurt me. But the reality is, manhood isn't about being macho and stupid. And yet, that's what our culture tells us, really, it's about. It's not. If you ask a woman what she wants in a man, I'm pretty confident that she will say, I just want a guy who is sincere, willing to be honest, and tells you who he really is, inside and out, I think. Ladies?
Yeah. Here's the deal. I really believe I believe that honesty is directly connected to your security. Because here's what I mean, and I think rather than muscles and looks and all that stuff, there's nothing, I guess, sexier or more attractive than someone that is secure and confident in themselves, right, ladies? That's true, right? Okay, some of you guys are like, well, I mean.
But muscles are nice.
So,
is that what you're saying?
I guess that's what they're saying. So what I'm saying is that being honest is directly connected to your confidence. Because what you're saying is, okay, ladies or whoever you are, I'm going to be the real me no matter what you think. And the confidence part is saying this. It's saying, as I'm being honest with you and as I present to you who I really am, if you don't accept that or if you reject that, you're saying, it doesn't matter that much to me. I will move on and life will be okay. And that's very attractive. And so therefore I really think that being honest is really connected to your security. How secure are you? Are you okay with saying, no matter what you believe about me, I am going to be okay? So
I'm going to tell you a very quick story about being honest. I might run over the 1 minute.
No problem.
I don't get shot or anything.
No
right?
problem.
Okay.
You're good.
So I was courting my now wife. We had gone out, I know. We had gone out like 3 times maybe 4. So the kiss had happened, but just barely. Okay. I know. It was amazing too. And by the way, fourth date was the kiss. If you're wondering, 4th date. Okay. And not before. I think before that is too early, but that's beside the point. So my wife, we had both graduated from college. I was living in Seattle. My wife was actually still living with her parents. She had just started a job and was kind of getting set to move out, but hadn't yet. And we had been talking about the movies that we like to see and the ones that we hadn't seen but wish we had. And my wife had actually seen this movie, and I hadn't. It was in all the news. It won Oscars and stuff, and it had just come out on VHS. So we agreed that we would watch the movie at her parents' house. They were going to be gone. It was going to be a nice little romantic time. We were going to watch the movie. It would be great. I knew nothing about the movie except it was supposed to be funny, and it was extremely popular. So we watched the movie, and it's called Steel Magnolias. You can tell the old people in the audience. I need to tell you this, too. When I was a senior in high school, I had an older brother who died. And so death for me, especially, well, death for me was just very sort of fresh, even though it had been 5 years. And highly charged emotional scenes just wiped me out. Well, Steel Magnolias is really funny for the first 3/4 of the movie. And then the main character, this adorable, lovely, really funny, clever young woman, just dies. Boom! They just kill her off. Here was me. Literally. The gasping, the out of control, the complete meltdown, absolute lost it. Completely emotionally vulnerable. Utter, where is it? Honesty. Where is it? Oh, being real. Being real. Utter, complete vulnerability. I was the opposite of what major culture says you should be to be a man. Sealed the deal.
Okay, so I'll read this and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so strength. There is nothing better than a man who exudes strength, not the muscle-ripping kind of strength, but the strength of mind, heart, and spirit. A strength that comes from a man who knows what he believes and stands firm for what's right. A strength is recognizing right from wrong and confessing when he has given into the latter. A strength that is confident enough to do right, choose right, and be right. So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
these are none of the questions I was sent yesterday.
No, I'm going to ask you questions when you guys
Okay.
are done talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think strength is, as a guy, I can say that I'm inundated all the time by messages that strength to a guy means first physical strength, and obviously I don't really take that to heart. But secondly, strength means always being right. Strength means being unyielding, stubborn, rigid, all those things. And I will tell you that I believe strength is the opposite of those things. I wrote myself some notes and said, as a man and as a woman, I dare say, never confuse strength with stubbornness. That's just being stupid. Don't confuse strength with being right all the time. Don't confuse strength with rigidity or closed-mindedness. Do equate strength with integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. And I'm a firm believer that if you live that way in all you do, or if you strive to live that way in all you do, doing the right thing in every circumstance, whether people are watching or not, you will not only appear strong to women and men, by the way, but you will also be strong. I think integrity is the key to really defining what strength is.
Yeah, I think too often society and culture has defined what being strong means. As a matter of fact, when we feel weak or vulnerable, I believe that's when we're the strongest. Because guys, for some reason, we've been convinced that in order to be strong or to be courageous, we have to be muscular, or we have to be stubborn, or we have to be jerks. And I think that's the easy part. I mean, the easy part is to just pretend you have it all together. The easy part is to pretend that things are great, and that the vulnerability of yourself is saying, I have it all together, there's nothing wrong with me. That's easy. That takes no strength. And yet, the culture has defined that to be strong. Like, oh, look at him, he's doing great. He's popular, he's got all the this or that. Man. But the reality is, strength is when you can sit back and be honest and say, you know what, I don't have it together. I'm actually weak. I actually have issues, or whatever it is. For some reason, culture has deemed that weak, but yet the reality is that's true courage. Because it's easy to just say, oh, things are fine.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question about this. So, how can you consistently stand firm in your beliefs and for what is right when you're still trying to figure out what is right or what you believe in?
I think this is where listening comes in. The question is, how can you stand firm in your beliefs? How can you be consistent in what you say you believe when you're still trying to figure out what you believe? In other words, if your foundation isn't built real strong yet in the ideas of what is important, then how can you say what you believe in? Well, the answer is it's really hard. I'm not sure you can. But I think the key steps are listening, asking questions, being vulnerable with people you trust. Look around for people in your life, guys especially. Look around for other guys in your life, older men, who seem to live in a way that you like, that models strength, that models integrity, that models servanthood. Watch those people. Watch what they do. Listen to what they say. Especially pay attention to how they are with people who are weak, with people who are needy, with women. Watch how they behave with little kids, and try to pick up what the key things are that they do. So many things in life can't be undone. You make a decision. You make a decision about what to do when you're home alone and the internet's calling your name. You make a decision about what to do with your girlfriend after hours. You're making decisions all along in life that have to do with who you are as a man, and a lot of those decisions, once made and once acted on, cannot be undone. They can be forgiven, but they can't be undone. So my advice is, before you jump off some cliff with your girlfriend, with your free time, before you jump off a cliff like that, talk to somebody you respect, another guy especially, preferably one who has jumped off that cliff before, and ask him to describe the rocks under the water for you. somebody who's been through that experience can hopefully keep you from jumping. And I think I can't overstate how important it is to find people in your life that you respect, that you trust, that you admire, and try to emulate them. But more importantly, talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I would recommend for everyone to do. And I say this to every one of my students as well. Every student here should have a mentor. Whether you're a boy or girl, every one of you guys, whether it's your pastor or a teacher or somebody in your life, but again, someone that's been through life, somebody that can walk alongside you, someone that won't judge you and love you, and help you make right, godly, good decisions. And so, in reality, in a perfect world, every one of you guys should have a mentor that you can talk about this stuff with. And so, part of the question is, how do we know what's right when we're still trying to figure out what's right? Well, part of that is you got to continue trying to figure out what's right. Oftentimes we get lazy. We get lazy in our faith, we get lazy in our character, we get lazy in our integrity. And so a big part of what we need from our mentor is not only that'll walk alongside us, but that'll also love us so much they'll call you out. I have students that I walk alongside with, and they know that I love them so much that I will be brutally honest with them. And we've developed such a relationship that my understanding, my hope, is that when they receive it, they don't receive it with offense, but they receive it out of love and saying, okay, yes, and they trust me enough to go a different direction or to really process what they're going through. And so, yeah, in reality, every one of you guys should have somebody that's looking out for you and helping you make right decisions. And when you're not, telling you that you're not.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the last quality. The last quality is humility. So, what raises a man up more than any other earthly thing in his ability to humble himself? A real man doesn't need to talk up who he is, because his life does that for him. He can put away the talk, because a man of humility is focused so much more on his walk. He is quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because he has put away his rights for the right to be selfless, loving, and full of grace. So once again, we'll take your thoughts on this.
I got another story. Yeah. So, my now wife, again, we met in college but didn't date in college. We went on one date in college, which was a blind date. We got set up. And my wife had several several boyfriends before me, and I had several girlfriends, hundreds actually. It's not at all true. I don't want to talk about that. But my wife had several girlfriends, none super serious, but several. Did I say girlfriends? That's not true either, that I know of. She had several boyfriends. And anyway, we got set up on this blind date. It was Tanya, my wife, and I, and another couple. And we drove up to Seattle. We were going to school at PLU in Tacoma. We drove up to Seattle and went to Laser Zeppelin. Awesome. And I know, right? And down on the waterfront and stuff like that. And my wife will tell you that she, on the drive up there, she thought to herself, this guy is so different than other guys that I have dated. And the one thing that she thought made me unusually attractive, hear that, guys? Obviously wasn't the looks. She said the one thing that made me uniquely interesting and attractive was I didn't tell her anything about myself unless she asked me. And more so, I asked her lots of questions about her, and I actually listened to answers. I asked her about her family, how she grew up, what she liked to do, what her relationship with her sister was like. I asked her tons of those sorts of questions. And I never said, by the way, did you know that I'm pretty good at calculus? Maybe it's because I had nothing really cool to say about myself, I don't know. But the fact is, I was way more interested in her and finding out about her than I was interested in telling her about me. And that made a huge impression.
Calculus is pretty sexy, isn't it?
Yeah, derivative.
The piece that sticks out to me in this article says a real man I would say man or woman. If you're in my class, you know that I like to be gender inclusive. A real person doesn't need to talk up who he is because his life does that for him. He can put away the talk because a man in his humility is focused so much more on his walk. So here's the deal. We often hear this quote that says, actions speak louder than words. And when you look at the big picture, I can't tell you enough how true that is. Oftentimes when students or students come up to me and they do all this talking, I'll do this and I'll do that. Sometimes I get sick and tired of it. I'm like, stop. Just stop. Let me just see it. Let me see it in your life. Because the talking is the easy part. Changing and transformation and living up to your word, that's the difficult part. That I'll give you props for. But for someone that just keeps talking about this or that, doesn't actually follow through, that's very discouraging. As a matter of fact, I think that's more destructive when you say you'll do something, when you say you're about something, and you're really not. That actually does more harm, even to our own faith. And so what I like to say about that is, guys, especially guys, since we're talking to the guys, man, be a man of your word, and don't try to prove yourself with your words only, but with your actions as well. Let your integrity, let your character do all the talking, not just your mouth.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up. Thank you, guys. And Mr. Olson's going to come up.
All right, we're going to continue this on March 4th and beyond, so let's pray, and then you're dismissed back to team time. Grab your stuff, take metal chairs, put them on the racks if you would. Let's pray. Father, thank you for helping us to think about these things. Help us ultimately to emulate you, Jesus, your strength, which you gave away for the glory of God and good of others, your humility, your courage, your authenticity. Help us to be like you, Jesus. Help us to not only be like you in those ways, give us the words to say and the courage to build up others and to encourage others in that as well. Lord, help us to be each other's greatest encouragers as we try to become the people that you have made us to be. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this place. In your name, amen.